Hey everybody, I'm Jane.
And I'm Sarah.
And you're listening to the Medium Curious podcast, the podcast about all the things.
Yeah, it is about all the things. And thank goodness, because there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things.
And our guest today, Tammy Tocheniuk, is all the things, and she's super grounded. So I really love that about her. She's a psychic medium. She's an animal communicator, and she's a great communicator in general. So
yeah, she communicates with lots of dimensions, and she's extraordinary and so fun to talk to. So
let's go meet her.
Oh, let's go meet her. Yay.
Hey everybody, we've got Tammy Tocheniuk with us today. Welcome, Tammy. We know you from Lauren Robertson's Platform Perfection class, where you just wowed us with your brilliance.
Your face.
Wow,
with your face. With your
I wasn't
face.
expecting that.
I know. So Jane and I are just like sitting in that class. We're like, oh, we love her. Oh, ooh.
We're like fully texting on the background, like, we gotta invite Tammy on. We love Tammy.
Oh, thank you guys. It was such an interesting thing because I didn't know anybody. So I certainly didn't know you were texting behind the scenes.
Sneaky.
Will you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Tammy Tocheniuk. A lot of people struggle with that when they see all the vowels in my last name. I'm from Southern Alberta. I've been here for 30 years this year, actually. And but I was born and raised in northeastern New Brunswick. And so some people start listening for the accent because they think we all sound the same from the East Coast. Do you want me to share about what I do for work?
Yeah, share with us about your mediumship.
Okay.
And your pet communication.
So I am a medium, as you can guess for being on this podcast, I guess. But it all started, if I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning, I was a very psychic, intuitive child. I always was aware I had an inner world and an outer world, and that I was receiving information. I was one of those kids who, especially around adults, could really hone in on who was good and maybe who wasn't so good, or maybe someone who was not being truthful about something. And I remember just always being that way. And as a kid, I would say things and it wasn't usually well received. I might tell a childhood friend of mine, that girl doesn't really like you. She's not really feeling you, and it would be always pushback, of course, which I totally get now. But at the time I thought, I'm just telling you the truth of it. I'm just telling you what's really happening. Cut to my 20s is when mediumship came on board fully. So I would say I was psychic, intuitive throughout childhood, teen years, and then in my 20s, mediumship came on board. And I didn't know what mediumship was. I didn't know it was a thing that you could work with. I thought it was something, that I saw in the movies or read about in books, but it wasn't something that I studied or took classes on or talked a lot about. It was just something that was happening to me that, much like my psychic ability in childhood, I just assumed it was a part of me. And I also assumed everybody was doing it too. So I didn't talk about it at all. And I was having experiences, especially in my 20s, regularly, where I would wake up at night and there would be a spirit in my bedroom, sometimes 2, 3, 4 of them at one time. And I call it seeing 3D. So what I mean by that is not seeing spirit how we will in our mind's eye, like a memory, but I was seeing them like a piece of furniture. And
Whoa.
I've come to see now, that's a little bit uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
And it always happened at night. And I understand as well, because I was sleeping, I was more open. And so they would wake me up, or I would come awake sensing something. And I would wake up in my room and I would see all these figures. And close enough that I could describe what they looked like, but they were still very translucent, I would say. They weren't fully formed, but enough I could see their eyes and their face, and if they were kind of smiling, their age, and it was never anyone I knew.
Yeah.
And this just kept happening, sometimes night after night after night. And
were you
I would just
freaked
fall back.
out, or did you just that's normal?
You know what? I never was. I think something inside of me knew it was okay.
Yeah.
Because I was never afraid. I never, turned the lights on and ran running from the room. I would literally look at them, and sometimes they would make eye contact with me, and sometimes they'd be looking somewhere else in the room. Sometimes I would see them move out of the room, and sometimes they would still be there, and I would fall back to sleep. And a lot of people just they are in awe of that, because they think if that ever happened to me, I would be screaming and running away. But I just felt a very sense of calm, like they were benign, that I could trust them, that there was nothing to be fearful of. I just always knew that somehow, and I really don't know why. I just always did know that. So that kept going on for a long time. And I would talk about it maybe with my husband or a friend. I would say, I'm having those dreams again. I always thought they were dreams. And I knew darn well I was wide awake. But to myself, I would just say they were dreams. And fast forward from there, probably 10, 12 years of that. And I was at work. I had a regular job at the time. And there was a lady at work who was very much into angel card readings and all the things, which I never was. I wasn't against it. I just wasn't curious about it all. And the topic of sleep came up. And she was talking about how she's not getting a lot of sleep. And I said, oh my gosh, let me tell you, I never sleep. All these dreams I have. All these dreams of these people of these people in my room. And because she knew about these things, she knew that wasn't quite right. And so she said, dream, tell me about it. So I described it as I just did to you. And she said, I don't think you're dreaming. And I was like, well, what else would it be? And she said, I have a medium friend, and I'm going to give her a call, and I'm going to get her to tune into you. And again, all this language was new to me. What do you mean, tune into me? She lives in Saskatchewan, which for your listeners, that's the province over from me. How is she going to do that? She's like, I'm just going to give her a call. She's a professional medium. I'm going to ask her to tune into you and see what comes back. And I said, okay, sure. So it was the next day or two at work. She said, well, I talked to my friend, and she said, Tammy's a medium, and she has no idea that she is.
Oh my gosh. This just in.
This just in.
Were you shocked?
You know what? It was like the penny dropped. Everything just went, that's what it is. So it was a similar feeling to not being afraid of seeing the spirits, to someone telling me that and me going, oh, right. It was like a remembering almost, because I didn't fight against it. Yeah, I didn't say, oh, that can't be true. But I did go another few years of resisting it and things like that. But the actual title of it, the label of it, the putting myself in that container made sense. And from there, it was literally days where I told my friend at work, I said, please don't tell anyone. I didn't have fear of it. I had judgment about it, about people, what they would say about me and things like that. Because I am a very down to earth, realistic person. So not that you can't be as a medium, but we have these perceptions of what, spiritual people are and all of that. And I don't kind of fit into that. Or I didn't at the time anyway. And I said, please don't tell anybody. And she said, no, I won't. And, the next day she had told everybody.
Oh my God. Nice. Thank you.
She's like, I'm so excited. I know a real life medium, because she was into these things, right? So this was exciting for her. And it was literally days later that a lady at work came to me and said, I heard you're a medium. And I'm like, well, I don't need, I see people at night. This is what I thought this was. And she said her friend had passed away suddenly. And that's how it all started. She said, I need you to try to find out what happened. And I literally didn't know this was something you could collaborate with. I thought it was just, I go to bed at night, spirit shows up, I see them, they look at me, and then they go through the wall. Like that was sort of what I thought this
You're
was.
like, that's what this is. Yeah.
So she said, I don't care. You know, she was in tears. Her best friend had just passed away. She didn't know what had happened. The police were involved in all of that. And I said, okay, I'll give it, I'll try. So I literally came home, and I remember it was the middle of the day. I'd come home from work, and I went up to my room, my bedroom, and I laid down in the bed because I thought, this is where it happens. I've got to be in the bed for the spirits to come in. And she had told me her friend's name, and I called out her name, and I said, are you here? And I could see like a form taking shape outside of myself, just like I had before. And she told me what had happened. And I don't know how much I can say on here, but she had been murdered.
Wow.
And she told me what had happened. And of course, I didn't know what to think. I thought, I'm making this up. There's no way this is even happening. How am I going to tell someone this? I don't want to tell someone something so deep and it's not even true, and I'm making it up. Like I'm not partaking in this, you know. And I went to work the next day, and my coworker said, what happened? Did you get anything? And we were both in the bathroom. I said, I'll tell you if you really want to know. And we're in the bathroom crying, because I'm crying because I'm feeling so much responsibility and pressure, and I'm upset for her that her friend passed away, and she's upset, of course. And so we're both in the bathroom crying. And she said, just tell me. I don't care what it is you're going to say. And I don't even care if it's accurate. Like, just tell me. And I told her, and she took it, she onboarded it. She took it like it was, this is a real possibility. So she must have known maybe more than what she had told me, other than just her friend had passed. And anyway, a few days later, the RCMP wrapped up their investigation, and that's what had happened. What I had said was what had happened. And then from there, it was just wildfire caught. People were calling me for missing people. I worked for a long time with for missing people, murder, things like that. I would see spirits would come to me, and they would tell me, you know, I passed away. It was an accident, and my body's in the river here. Here are the coordinates, and that's what would happen. Wow. And I did that for a while. I thought I was going to be a real missing person kind of medium. But yet you've got to remember, I went from figures are showing up to me at night, I don't know what this is, to my body's in the river.
Right.
So I had no training. Yeah. I had no mentor. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I was trying to be very responsible with what I would say and how I would approach things. And I would never call people up and say, I think, you know, your loved one, this is where they are. I would never do anything like that. I try to be very ethical about it right from the get-go, but it started taking a toll on me. And there were times when I would get the information and would give it to a family, and they didn't believe it. You know, especially if a person they thought they were missing or they had run away. And I would say, well, they're actually here. And then it might take months for the body to be recovered. So there was a lot of that kind of went on, and it felt very heavy. So I stepped away from it. And then turned towards doing more sort of regular mediumship. And then animals started coming in. And then that's where we are now, where I've kind of pivoted. I do people sometimes, but my love and my passion is for communicating with animals, both alive and in spirit.
Oh,
wow. I did not even know about that backstory. That is fascinating.
It is fascinating.
So, but just to ask a question about that, you said it was heavy. Was it impacting you like physically, mentally? Like what was, do you mind saying a little more about that?
Sure. No, it totally was. And I think even if I were more prepared in that I was experienced and I had been trained, I had a mentor and so on, I think it would still be a challenge because I'm a visual medium. So I see spirit. As I mentioned, I see them outside of myself, but I see them so I see what's happening like I'm watching a movie. And I always say, once that's in your memory bank, you can't get rid of that, right? It's like watching something terrible happen.
Yeah.
Not just like in a movie, but in real life. And I have all of that in my head. And so that started taking a toll on me. And then I had adrenal fatigue in about 2016. And I think that was definitely related. I also had 3 kids I was raising. I was working a part-time job. I was trying to start this business. So it all just kind of crashed down on me. And for about a year, I had to take about a year off where I didn't even meditate. I did nothing. I did not try to connect to anything outside of my physical reality. And that really helped. And that's when I started putting a lot more guardrails in place as far as what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do anymore. And, but yeah, it definitely did take a toll on me. And this is why I'm a big proponent of, because sometimes I do mediumship mentorships or I've taught classes. Even in regular conversation, if people bring up mediumship, I'm right in there with guarding yourself, protecting yourself, checking in. We get so excited when we connect and we get this information that can be validated. I think a lot of that goes out. And especially in my case where I didn't have anyone to say, hey, like, what am I supposed to do here? I didn't have any protections. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't doing anything like that. And I there's pros and cons, I think, to not having had any kind of teaching at the beginning. That means it's my own voice. I haven't taken on anything else. But I've made mistakes too with it. And there's things I don't know because I didn't have somebody saying, hey, pay attention to this and take care of yourself better. So I got completely drained, had adrenal fatigue. I started having flashbacks of some of the cases that I had been working on. I couldn't stop it. It was just flashing constantly. And so, I took a big break. And then when I started kind of stepping back in a little bit, the animals were coming in more and more with the people, with the human spirits. And I thought, you know what, when people's face, as you ladies know, when you give a good mediumship reading and you see everything across, move across someone's face, something else happens when it comes to animals. There's just a gentleness. People just become more open, a little different, I think, at least for me, than when we're talking about people and spirit. And I was like, I love this. I love that. And so I just kept going with it. And then I had a friend who said, do you think you could talk to animals who are alive too? And I thought, let me see. Just like everything else, let me see what's happening here. And I was able to. It's a different, I consider it levels, energetic output, but it was easy enough. And so that's what I do now. I do basically love letter from animal spirits. So if an animal's in spirit and someone wants to connect, I do everything by email, by the way. So you don't need to bring your animal to my house or anything. And I do that. And then I work with live animals as well, who may be struggling mentally, physically, emotionally. I've done a lot of work internationally with work horses, rodeo horses, that sort of thing. And so that's my passion. Insofar as now I'm creating my own oracle deck around animals and nature. And that's what I've been focused on here the last few months.
Oh, how cool.
I saw that. I know. I'm so excited. So Tammy, really amazing, all of these downloads. Curious, with the animal work, did you also essentially self-train? Were you just like, oh, let me try, or did you have a mentor in that space?
I didn't. It was the same thing. Yeah. It was like, as you ladies know, connecting to animals in spirit is a similar thing to connecting to spirit, people's spirit. At least for me, that it felt similar. Yeah. And it was just a question of maybe separating isn't the right word, but honing in on an animal versus a person. So sometimes with the animals, even though I'm not trying to do it on purpose, sometimes people will still come through, and I'll give that information to the person because that's where I've been trained. Anyway, so it feels like it's the same to me. An animal who is alive is a little bit different. That feels more from my heart space, using more intuitive and psychic information with the animal communication. Even though animal communication is its own separate entity, I feel like, and I do move in between all of those. But no, it wasn't difficult at all. And maybe because prior to when I was doing human spirit readings, the animals were coming through anyway. So I think it was because it had already been happening, I was able to sort of go in and separate the two and be like, okay, I'm just actually looking for this dog. I want to connect to this dog or this cat or this horse or whatever it might be. And sometimes that got a little confusing because many people have more than one pet, or they have had. And because I do everything over email, I'd be sending, sometimes going back and forth with the client and saying, okay, is your dog brown and white and it's a Shih Tzu? And they'd be like, no, that's my other dog. I'm looking for this dog. So what I've done now to kind of eliminate that is I'll ask for a photo of the specific animal that they want to connect with. And then if other ones come in, that's okay too, but it's that specific one they're looking for. So that cuts out a little bit of that back and forth. But yes, I didn't have any training with it either. And I think, thinking about this and knowing a little bit more now, almost 30 years on, I've recognized that maybe with my personality, my life experience, I sort of needed it all just to come on like that. Otherwise, I may not have been curious enough or interested enough to follow it. And I think that had to happen for me that way. And so everything kind of was just there. And then from there, I was like, okay, if I'm doing mediumship, can I do card readings? Can I do intuitive things? I was already predicting world events at the time as well. And it just feels like it's just a different energy level. That's all. And I just move in between. And I sort of say like mediumship, as you ladies know, is more like a marathon, like the energy output, right? And then psychic ability, even animal communication, it feels like it's a slow jog around the park. That's sort of how it feels like to me as far as how much energy I'm having to put out. And so I think because I was trained in the marathons, the other things were a little simpler and maybe even easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
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 That's my experience too with animal comm. It just feels like
well,
it's right for there.
You say you like it so much, Jane, because it's it's like animals are so much clearer and like less complicated, and it's clean and it's like easier and there's less drama.
Yep. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it's like less static. There's less and I think it's probably me. I would totally own that. Like an animal's voice just comes in really clear for me. I'm just like, oh, what's up? And then they go, ba, 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 ba. And with humans, they're like, oh, and then, well, the other thing I want to tell you is, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not always, but sometimes. So
their messages are fairly simple and straightforward. I would agree with that. And so, and it depends on how the animal passed. Sometimes there are tragic circumstances, and so there, different grief layers come with that. But a lot of times, people just want to know they're still there. Do they remember me? And so you can give them, memories of things they did together, and do they still know of me even after they passed away? So you can give them something that happened after after the animal passed away. So I find it quite simple in that way, and very profound still. But you're right. It doesn't come in with a lot of the layers of the humanness of it all. Because I don't know if you ladies have experienced this, but as a medium, you're sometimes going to get spirits who maybe the sitter or the client really doesn't want to hear from, or they might want to hear from them, but they're not in a space where they can take on an apology or an explanation for something because they're still in healing through or in their pain. But with an animal, that's not really there as much. You're not really going to find someone who says, "Oh, I don't want to hear from that dog." It's just not. Yeah. It's just not. Yeah.
It's
That's
pure
so
love.
true.
It is. That animal connection is usually pure love.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have a favorite reading that you can talk about, or like any kind of anecdote about animal comms that have delighted you? And take all the time you need. I can.
Yeah, I'm one of those people, as soon as you ask me a question that I have 1,000 answers to, my mind goes blank. It's like,
right.
No,
totally.
I don't have any.
No, none of those.
Let's see. One that comes to mind is, I think maybe 2 years ago, I had a client who was referred to me. Anyway, and as I said, I do everything via email. So this was a husband and wife who had reached out to me, and they had to euthanize their dog. So of course they were very sad about that and in grief. And they wanted to know if they had done the right thing and, all the kind of usual questions. And so I connected with the dog. Or no, actually, I asked them how long ago the dog had passed away, because sometimes for me, connection, it doesn't matter if the animal or the person has passed away a few hours ago or 25 years ago. But what I've learned over the years is I like to give people some breathing room there. I can do the reading, it's possible, but as I tell them, if they're still in very heavy grief, they may not take the messages on the same way. And having a little bit of space or time means that the animal or the person can come in with different messages because some things have happened since. So that's what had happened. The husband and wife had reached out, and I think their dog had just passed away, like really recently. And I said, you know what? I advise waiting about 3 months. And if you still want a reading, come back to me, because likely some things are going to happen in your life that your dog is going to be able to validate for you, right? So they said, okay. And what I really loved about this was the husband got back to me 3 months later and asked if it was okay, if the timing was right. And he wanted to give it to his wife as a gift. Aww. So he hadn't told her that he had reached out to me again. And so I thought, oh, that's so sweet. That's so special. So I connected to their dog, and what happens with me is I start getting memories. The dog starts showing me, this is what we used to do. This is what I look like. This is what I liked, maybe this is how I passed away, and so on. So I start taking some of those memories and I write it, as I said, like in a love letter form. And one of the greatest memories that the dog brought through, which of course I don't know if this is accurate until I press send, because I'm not getting any feedback, and right. So that creates its own drama in my head. But anyway, the dog was showing me, it was wearing a necklace, and I thought at first, oh, are you showing me your collar? Because sometimes people will keep their dog's collar, And it was like, nope, it was a necklace. It was longer and it was silver. And at the end of it was a ring. And I thought, okay, I'm seeing this clearly. I'm just putting it in this love letter, and hopefully this man knows what this is. And he wrote back to me and he said, I'm writing this through tears because our dog was so important to us. I don't want to cry either, but our dog was so important to us that when I proposed to my wife, I put her ring around his neck, and I had him come in.
Oh my God.
And also he was at our wedding as well. So that's one of my favorites. Like I said, my mind was blank. It was so sweet. And for your listeners, all I knew was what the dog looked like. He had just sent me a picture of him, right? So something like that, something so specific where the man, he couldn't be like, well, maybe it's that, or maybe she guessed it, or it could be the dog, but maybe not. It was very specific. And so he sent the love letter to his wife for her. I don't know if it's their anniversary or her birthday. I can't remember.
Oh, man.
Jane.
Boo boo. That's one of my most favorite.
Yeah. Tammy, no wonder you switched over from missing people and murders to animal communication. Yeah, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Hey,
and that's what I mean. Just how you guys are feeling. That's the feeling I get when I work with animals, And I work with hard things too. I've worked with animals missing animals. Like I still find myself in that missing area.
Yeah, it's hard.
And animals who aren't coming home and things like that. So there is some of the heaviness there, but a lot of times it's just people just want to know where they are. Like what happened. They're okay. They remember me.
Yeah.
And they think I did a good job taking care of them,
So I've got a question for those pet owners who have to make the decision to, help their pets cross over. What kind of messages do you get from the pets mostly about that?
So it will depend on what the client needs from me. So if this is a client who has already made up their mind, so perhaps in conjunction with their vet, they've already made up their mind, next Thursday, we're euthanizing my animal. I'll have a different way of approaching that versus somebody who says, I'm worried it might be time. I don't want them to suffer, but I'm not sure. That'll be a different approach for me.
Yeah.
If someone comes in and their mind's already made up, I don't try to change their mind. Because I feel like it's such a hard decision. So what I mean by that is I'll come in and connect with the animal. And if the animal still feels to me, so how I see it is it's almost like I can see their spirit. I can feel their energy. I can feel that they are on their last days. They are ready to go. They are in acceptance, which most animals, I rarely have an animal that's not accepting of death. It's very different than people. Animals are, they seem to understand this intuitively, that this is a transition. And not to say that if an animal is in survival mode out in the wild, or even your own dog in your neighborhood will be in survival. When it comes to this spiritually and energetically, they're always in acceptance. It's a different thing. And so if they come to me and say, I'm not sure, I'll check with the animal, where's your pain level at? If they are in some kind of a pain, is this something that can be rectified with some type of treatment from a vet, let's say? Is this something that you can accept, you can tolerate for the next few months? So I go in asking those questions first, because my first thought is always, how is the animal feeling? We don't want an animal to suffer needlessly. And sometimes they'll surprise me. Sometimes they will say, I'm not ready to go. Like, I'm good for another 6 months, let's say. And so I will tell the client that, always with the reminder, I'm not a medical professional, so always check with your vet. They get the last word. You get the last word, not me. I'm just giving you from the animal's perspective. And sometimes they'll say, I'm not ready. Like, I'm good to go for another 6 months. And I'll relay that to the client, and they'll say, okay, good. That gives me a time frame. I'll tell them what to watch out for. If things change, obviously, again, go to the vet. And that helps them. So they're not in that in-between space of, is it today? Is it next week? Is he okay? But he looks fine, but now he's having a bad day. It kind of takes that away from them for a few months, weeks, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And then if an animal is definitely coming to the end of its life, I had actually something happen here with my neighbor. Her brother's dog was visiting, and the animal had almost like a seizure type of episode. And she said, can you check in with with the dog. And when I did, I saw the dog was going to pass that night. Like it
Oh,
was within hours.
wow. Wow.
And so I told my neighbor's brother, as you know, as carefully as I could, maybe you need to take her to the vet. You know, I didn't come right out and say, you know, she's not going to make the night. Maybe you should check in with your vet. He said, yeah, I've got an appointment on Wednesday. Let's say this was like Sunday. And I said, okay, good. You know, because there's always space for me to be inaccurate. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, good. And turns out the dog passed away that night. But he wasn't ready to hear it. In his mind, he was thinking, she just needs some treatment. She'll be fine. So it really depends where the client's at. And then definitely if they've made the decision that we're euthanizing on this certain day, I don't come in and say, you know what, your dog could probably go another. I just don't do that because I don't think that's fair. And the animal's accepting it anyway. So when I say the animal might have a different timeline than a person will, it's not to say the animal's fighting against that and saying, no, I'm good. It's not like that at all. They will accept whatever choice, you know, their guardian makes. And so if they've already made that decision, in that case, then I just come in and I kind of just walk them through what might happen. I kind of do it. It's almost like a reading. I give them information of what the dog really appreciated about them and what they love through their life and that they're ready to go, so that when they do euthanize, you still go through all of the trauma and the pain of doing that, but at least you're not questioning, is this the right time?
Yeah. There's the peace.
Yes.
The piece that you offer.
Yes.
Yeah. That's been my experience too, is that usually the animal is orienting to the human and sort of saying like you said, my experience too is that animals have a totally different perception of death. They don't see it as this terrible, terrible thing. They see it as next, moving on.
Completely.
Love ya. Peace out.
Yeah.
See you soon. Like I'll be back.
Completely different thing. And I think it's because they're very present and in the moment and still very connected, you know, to other worlds in a sense, to the natural world, to animal kingdom. So they don't have, you know, even though we personify animals, and I do too, to an extent, they are very different than human beings. They're sentient beings just like we are, but they're not the same. They don't have the same thought process as we do. They don't have all of the layers that we do.
All that baggage.
You know, they do remember things. They are funny. You know, I've had ones tell me, you know, I didn't like, you know, so-and-so, or she's not paying as much attention to me since she got her new boyfriend, you know, things like that. So they are very aware, but yes, when it comes to death, it's just different, and it's really hard to put language to, but it's an acceptance, it's an acknowledgement, they just know what it is. And again, if they're in survival mode, that's a whole different thing, because people might say, well, if you ever watch an animal in the wild being chased, they're trying to survive, they're panicking. Yeah, that's different though than the other layer, you know, than their energetic body. We're all like that. We'll all try to fight and survive if there was an attack or something against us, right? But that's the physical aspect of it, where when you're communicating with their soul, with their essence, it's different.
It's a different level. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I love you just delineating that, because that's a real thing. Like sometimes I'll be talking to a cat, and cats are always really funny to me because they're so multidimensional. They're in about 18 places generally. And then but their cat self is like, dude, I'm a cat. Here's how it goes. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't mess with me, or whatever their, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you are kind of talking to, is that how you experience it? Like two different, like the soul of the creature and then the personality, like the embodied, like cat.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that, because that's how I experience it.
Well, I think it depends if I'm talking to an animal in spirit versus an animal who's still physically present. Yeah. Like an animal in spirit will give me their memories. Like, I was like this. I was the queen dog in my house with, an animal, they'll give me the perspective from their personality,
Right.
but then they move into their higher self at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm almost like visualizing. It's like they'll give me information from their spiritual perspective, and they'll give me information from their physical perspective as well. And then an animal in the physical is more, yeah, I'm here. This is what's happening. I don't like that new food. My back leg is bothering me. She worries too much about me. We got a new cat. I don't like that new cat, or I love that new cat, but the cat doesn't like me. So it's very much right here, right in front of them. That's what I mean by they're very present. And they will bring up old things too. Like we've had another dog, but the dog's gone now. Where'd that dog go? I get that a lot actually with animals. One thing that if I can impart to your listeners is that if they ever have to leave their animal or rehome their animal, to actually speak that to them, because they will ask, why am I here? And I will, that will be one of the first messages I will get from an animal who is still alive is, why am I here? And that will tell me they moved somewhere and it wasn't explained to them. So they can accept a rehome. They can accept you moving. They can accept changes, but you need to explain why, that it's not them, that they didn't do something wrong, and they can accept it a little bit better. Yeah, I've had that quite often. Where is this horse? Especially in the horse world, horses are moving a lot, especially with rodeo horses. Or they'll change a horse and they'll say, "Why am I here now?" And that's always my first clue when I write my email. I'll say, "Did this horse move? Did you get a new horse? Did you sell your horse, for example?" And they'll say, "Yeah, we did." And I'm like, okay, well, and so my job then is to actually communicate why they moved. It wasn't their fault. This is what's happening. Even with, in particular, working horses, they're very connected to their job. And sometimes they're ready to retire. Sometimes they're not. It's very similar to if a dog's ready to pass away or not, how I approach it. And some of these animals will say, I still have a couple good years in me. Like, I'm still ready to go. And that's what usually the owner wants to know. I don't want to push this horse too hard. Most horse people really love their horses. And so sometimes that's where I come in and say, you know what, they are ready to retire. Or, you know what, no, they're not. They have another couple races in them, And so sometimes if the owner doesn't tell the horse, we're retiring you, they're just sort of moved to a different barn. They don't run anymore. It's a different life. They question what happened. Like, I'm a champion and now I'm over here in the field living a good life, but I'm not doing what I have to do. Yeah. But I'm a champion. Yeah.
Gosh, I love horses too.
I love them all.
Well, I love their personalities. Do you find that their personalities are so diverse? Like, it's kind of, I think that's surprising for people too. It's like, oh no, that horse was like this.
100%. Yeah. 100%. They are so different. The way they view life is different. Some are very quick and like, let's get this over with. Some want a long chat. Some want to tell you about everything that happened since they were born to now. Some just want to focus on what's in front of them. Some understand the hierarchy in the family, where they fit in. Some think I've had this is kind of funny, but some, especially in horses, they think they might be a little bit better than they were. Like they're like, and I'll ask the owner, and they're like, we kind of struggled, they couldn't get around the barrel or whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, in his head, he's a winner.
That's so cute. That is so cute.
So completely different. Just like people, they're not one is the same, no matter the breed or the species. Yep. And I had one horse one time, if I can tell you this story. A lady contacted me, and I think it was a similar situation. She was wondering if it was time for the horse to retire. And I checked in with the horse, and the whole time it was moving, like pacing and moving. And some of them, again, very calm, very, it's just like people. Some people can, like me, or some people are very calm and their hands don't move. And this horse was moving. And it was like, he was kind of like, I'll talk to you, but like, make it quick. And I said, okay, I'm just checking in, and how are you doing? And, so I got the information and I emailed it to her. I said, wow, this horse is on the move. Like, he just won't stand still, as part of his, like a characteristic of his personality, to verify that that's the right horse I was talking to. And she wrote back kind of LOL. She said, he is literally in the horse trailer. We're on the highway. We're going to a rodeo. So that's what he was trying to symbolically show me. He's literally moving, but I took it as like a character trait. So he was trying to tell me I'm moving, like I'm on the move. So anyway, that was kind of funny.
Oh, that's so cool. I had this one horse come through, and he was so into his looks. He was like,
so handsome.
Hi, hello. Let me show you from this side. Let me show you from this side. I'm very tall. Like, it just cracked me up. I was like, okay, I love you. Yes, whatever you want to say. But I will for sure let them know that you're exceptionally handsome.
Oh.
Yes, their looks, their personality, their intelligence. They're very aware of how they are perceived, for sure. Yeah.
This is so much fun. I love that your career took you into a place that's a match, like I love that you've kind of experienced the gamut. And I also kind of wanted to point out that you and Sarah have so much in common. Like, y'all are from the same place and you both had 3 children. Can we just touch on that for a second?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So Tammy, what do your kids think of you doing this? Do they know all about it?
They know all about it. And because I've been at this in one form or another, basically their entire lives, they don't really know any different.
Yeah.
I have all boys, so I don't know if you could speak to that, because boys, I do think, are a little different than girls. Yeah. They're more matter of fact and, oh yeah, okay, mom, type of situation.
How old are your boys?
It wasn't a big, my oldest is 25. My middle is 23 and my youngest just turned 19.
Oh,
so
wow. You had a little pack of them. So
they were very young. Yeah, they were very young when I really started with this and turned it into, had a business with it and whatnot. So they're used to it. They're used to me just saying things. And I made it very commonplace. I would say, oh, I'm seeing a client today about A, B, or C. Yeah. I try to take a lot of the woo-woo out of it, even though I can be very woo-woo. We didn't touch on maybe another conversation about my channeling aliens. Maybe we'll talk about that another time.
Oh my God. Yes. No, we have plenty of time, Tammy. Do not leave that off.
Here. Yeah.
I didn't want to bring all of that because it gets a little.
Anyway, about the horses, and then we'll go on to the aliens. Yeah. Do it.
Oh, yeah. We might have an episode 2. Oh my goodness.
So they just got used to it. And like I said, I made it very matter of fact. That's my personality anyway. I was just very much, I'm going to go and this lady, I have to go talk to this lady about her dog, and her dog is passing away. And so I would just bring it up in conversation like that. Yeah. And I wouldn't put a lot of frou-frou on it. I would just say,
normalize it.
I would just normalize it. My older son was a little more reticent because he was older when I really got into this. And so he kind of knew the difference, the distinction between then and now, where my younger has no clue. It's always been like this. Yeah. So he would talk to people, or I would tell them, don't tell the kids at school about this. They may not understand. They may have different beliefs, especially around mediumship, Yeah. And they'd say, oh, my friend told me that you talk to ghosts. Like, do you talk to ghosts? So I get questions like that sometimes. But for the most part, they believe me. My oldest, when he was in college, he went to university in the States, actually. And he said that his roommate said, what do your parents do for a living? And I'm an interior designer as well. So that's my safe thing. If I don't want to talk about this, I just go, I'm an interior designer. Yeah. So they've learned that too. And he said, I felt like they were kind of open. So he's good at gauging that too.
The discernment,
he said, yeah. So he said, I'm just going to, in his mind, he's like, I'm just going to tell them, she's a medium. And And the mom was all over it. You know, she watches all the shows, so she was all interested. And then at some point they said, but do you believe her? Do you believe your mom is really doing that? And he said, all I can tell you is I sometimes come home from school and there's a woman in my mom in the office with my mom and she's crying. And it seems like whatever my
It's
mom is
working.
doing, the woman believes her. Like, so he won't say yes. he kind of dances
That's
around
cute.
it. But as they get older, I think because it's become more acceptable mainstream now, I think now they're kind of going, oh, kind of neat. You know, my mom is doing this, and they tell their girlfriends in particular. They think that's cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But my boys, they've all been, they've all had their own mediumship experiences. They've all had premonition dreams. They all have the ability to an extent. They don't use it, but I've been training them in the language, you know, using more like, I feel like this is going to happen. I see this is going to happen rather than I think. And so I've kind of been training them over the years to use different language. And how do you feel about that? Did you see that before it happened? Did you know that was going to happen? And so they speak a little differently now than maybe their peers. But other than that, they're regular boys. They play sports. They're rough and tumble. So I don't think they're going to be card readers anytime soon.
Oh, sweetness. I love that.
Good. Well, yeah, Sarah, you have 3 kids?
Yeah, I do. They're a little bit younger, but I've got 2 boys and a girl. And the same, it's just normalized. It's like, oh yeah. You know, I have one of my kids will come, hey, did you do any readings today? Like, oh, what happened? Like, he's very interested. And then another one's just like, like just not interested at all. And then the other one's really little still, and she's a little fairy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also got to meet your father-in-law in spirit in Lauren's platform class. And it was so cute how he came through and how I discovered that you're from Alberta, which is where I grew up. He played a jingle in my head that was, I wish I could sing it. Mark's Work Warehouse, the home and Western Wear. And I was like, this is going through my head right now. Do you understand why? And you're like, yeah. It's like, it's definitely got to be an Alberta thing.
Yes. Well, I think it's a Canadian store.
Okay.
But it's definitely prevalent here. We have one I'm actually going there later today.
That's so awesome.
They have some really cool women clothes. Like, it's not just, you know, like regular everyday jeans stuff. So I go there sometimes. But yes, that's exactly. But I can't remember the jingle either. I don't think I've heard it in a long time. But yes, you had said that, and I'm like, that must be me. It's a Canadian Albertan thing.
It just like, it was so hilarious to me because like I hadn't thought of that jingle since I heard it when I was a little kid. Because I haven't lived in Alberta since 1994. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
I love that Spirit used that jingle. It's just so cute. What a cute piece of evidence.
Oh, and he, like the feeling that I had for you, Tammy, during that, when you realized that it was him, it was just so much love and how much he adored you and still adores you. It was just like, oh, I get to connect with Tammy through this love. It's just the coolest thing ever. So,
and he was he was always interested in this, to be honest, out of all of my family, my in-laws, like he was the most interested in spiritual. I think he had a few experiences himself. He was a little more open to it, but he was a regular, like I said, a farm boy turned banker, but he always wore jeans and always fixing things in the backyard, and so he very much was that personality. So you'd think he would be a little more cut and dried, but he had that curiosity and
like a big heart too, like a big soft heart.
But he wasn't effusive. He wasn't someone to say he loved you or anything like that. but he was very welcoming and funny and warm, but he was kind of old school. We don't hug, we don't say I love you. Like, he wasn't that kind of person, but you still knew, he cared. And the Dr. Phil reference that you brought up as well, Sarah, he wasn't bald. He actually cared very much about his hair, but I knew because of the mustache. He was well known for that big mustache.
Thick mustache.
Yes.
Oh,
right. Until the day
funny.
he passed away, he had it. He was 82, I think, when he passed away, somewhere around there. And he still had the big
thick mustache.
Yeah,
wow.
the big thick mustache. Yeah.
Okay, listen, I know we need to close because we're out of time. Tammy, you are amazing. We
Yes.
weren't wrong when we were texting behind your back that you're super cool and amazing. And we just didn't even know the depths and amazingness of your amazingness. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story and yourself and your grounded mamaness.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful to hang out with you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Very Soul is our sponsor for Medium Curious. Jane and I are both Very Soul mediums.
Oh, yes, we are. Verysoul.com, y'all. Inspired by spirit, guided by love, and brought to life by mediums.